All right, we're going to go live on YouTube. Let's make sure that works. All right, YouTube is live. Okay, we got a picture on YouTube. We are going to go live on Facebook. We're going to start recording on OBS. Okay, we're live on Facebook. We're going to start recording in 5, 4, 3.
Welcome to the Recovery Lab podcast. We're glad you were able to join us. Recovery Lab hopes to destigmatize addiction and normalize recovery.
Our platform provides an avenue to share the many stories of those that have recovered from addiction, providing for the listener the most basic antidote to addiction. Hope.
It's hard not to dance, isn't it?
It's good stuff. Did you play that?
No, I did not. We pay homage to Freakonomics podcast.
Absolutely.
With their awesome intro
That's
music.
good stuff.
All right, everybody. I'm Drew Hassin.
I'm Daniel Anderson.
We are the Recovery Lab. This is episode number 70.
70, yep.
Last week we had 69. And we said giggity about 1,000 times. All right, everybody. We're joined today by Kirby Wilson. Kirby, thank you, brother.
Thanks. Good to be here.
It's
Thank
good to see you.
It's good to
to
see
have
you, and it's good to see Daniel too. So,
Good to see you.
anything we can do to help raise awareness of in the recovery community
Raise awareness.
for the community. So,
All right, we're good. Yeah, you shifted a little bit.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you get shift over to your left just a little bit. There you go. Now you're center frame. There you go. All right.
we gotta
Not
get-
used to these
gotta get the
cameras.
inside.
I feel like I'm hunched over a little bit. The guy who has the podcast before me brings a lumbar and I keep thinking I need to bring one. I just don't feel like it's right.
There
Is
you
this
go.
good?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
There you go.
There now.
Yeah.
Don't move.
Okay.
Well, move to your left about an inch. There you go.
What about? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, you sound great.
Okay. All right. Anyway,
Right, so
let's focus on the task at hand.
Let's do it.
Kirby, good morning.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you today?
I'm good.
Daniel, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you. Thank you.
Woke up sober. I mean,
Absolutely.
That counts.
Yeah.
I was, on the coming up here, I was noticing some of the hotels, coming up this way, and have thought to myself, I wonder how many people are there under the wrong terms.
Probably all of them.
Yeah, the vast majority,
Wrong
100%.
conditions.
Vast majority.
And a lot of them are waking up not knowing or coming to whatever it is, like watching the sun come up. How did I get here again? What is this all about? What, oh my God, if they even have gotten to that point yet. So thank goodness we're not there.
Look, when I first came back to Jackson, when I got sober this time, I was living in Oxford House, and the first couple times I drove by, up 55, and saw the string of motels.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had to call my sponsor and talk about it.
Yeah,
Like it put a funk on me.
I've done the same thing.
Yeah, there's something to be said about the especially there at the end of my run with my relationship with hotels and scandalous activities, and it's difficult to drive by a shady motel and not have a little bit of gratitude these days.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, all sorts of fun was had there.
Oh my God.
If you could call it
What
that.
you call fun now and what was fun then certainly is by far, no comparison.
Absolutely.
They're all disgusting. and people are there owing to poor decisions.
Yeah.
How do I know? Because I made poor decisions and I was there.
Right.
Yeah.
It didn't even feel like it was me making those decisions. It was just something that I had no other choice really, except to be in that environment.
A compulsion.
It was just the compulsion, the act, whatever, just not to have to live in reality anymore.
That's exactly right.
And do that. So thank goodness But
Well,
you
look,
know, hopefully, if that is the scenario of some people there this morning, let's pray that they can find some solution or some help for that.
Absolutely.
well said. And if you're stuck in a motel somewhere, there's a way out,
Right.
and all is not lost, and you are worth the effort of doing whatever it takes to get out of there.
Absolutely.
And I've seen this proven too many times that the God of the universe, whatever shape, form, or fashion that God may take, is there to help you out of your quagmire.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, you don't have to believe necessarily in God in order to get sober. You know, that's
The spirit of the universe.
Yeah, I mean, your higher power can be absolutely anything. It can be the group. It can be a doorknob. It can be whatever you want. That's one of the things that I love about the 12 steps is you are not, you know, when I was coming into treatment, you know, I've always believed in God. I always thought that you know, that that God was real and you know, I certainly stepped away from him, but there was never a moment where I was like, I don't believe in this. Well, maybe, but deep down in my heart, I always knew that there's something. And what I've learned over the 20 years that I've been in and out of the program is oftentimes many people, when they are coming in off of a run or have been in active addiction for 20, 30 years, and you sit there and say, hey, you need to believe in God, and you need to, you know, point your finger, you must believe in God. Those people oftentimes would have turned the other way, and many of them would have died had we not been open about, look, you don't have to believe in our God. You don't have to believe in anything. We are here for you unconditionally. One of my clients was talking about, he had a sponsee that was, he said that, you know, he on the front end, he was like, you know, I practice witchcraft. Does that disqualify me? You don't want to work with me, do you? And the guy was like, no, actually, I really don't care.
I
like,
do not care.
We'll still work the 12 steps. And did. And, you know, the rest is history. But, you know, that's what I love about the program is we wrap our hands around anyone and everyone. You don't have to believe in what we believe in.
I think the daily reflections yesterday or today said those who have maybe believed in God or a higher power and have lost that connection find it harder to reconnect than those who have never had it at all.
Absolutely.
And I can see that, I can testify to that growing up, having going to church, believing in God, being, you know, talking about it at home, saying prayers before you go to sleep at night, and thinking, you know, prayers when you have meals and stuff, you know, believing in God growing up. And then, rolling off into alcoholism and addiction and just believing, oh my God, there is nothing else. There's no power greater than myself that can get me out of this or anything else.
Right.
So reconnecting with that power, as we talk about in the program, you know, a power that you believe in, something that you can connect to, can change your life.
Absolutely.
Absolutely can.
Yeah, finding a higher power you can do business with is
Right.
the most powerful thing that can happen to a person.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the sad truth is that, you know, organized religion uses the cudgel of fear and shame largely to get you in line. If you know, here are the rules. This is what you got to do. This is what you got to believe. And if you don't do those things or don't believe this way, then you go to hell. And I mean, that's the motivating factor largely is, you know, staying out of hell for all eternity. And we carry that fear and that shame response into our adulthood. And then all of a sudden we're in a recovery program that at least makes mention of God. And all of a sudden it's, you know, I want to reject that.
Right.
I have these issues from my childhood or whatever it is that we've dragged with us into.
Yeah. If you have that fire, brimstone, go to hell mentality,
That's tough.
And then you go, and if you're in addiction and you get to a place where you can say to yourself, I'm going to hell anyway, so what is the point?
Right.
Why even try it to do something different?
It's a dark place to be in.
It's a dark place. It's real sinister to believe that stuff. And, I've seen it that other people have, when they get into that spot, they just want to do more and more and more. And the further they get down to where they just can't, they don't believe that anything's going to help them. Or why do it now? Why,
I think that's the single largest obstacle for those in early recovery. And I believe this to be true. I tested it and proved it in my own life, is in the very beginning, we seem to double down on our misery because even though it's poisonous using, and even though it's self-sabotaging using, it's familiar to us. And
Comfortable even.
there is a known product that you're buying when you use drug. Like, I know what's about to happen. And that,
there's a comfortable.
paradoxically, is somehow more favorable than the alternative, which I believe is because we are completely devoid of hope and completely devoid of any belief that things may improve. Because if you really thought, hey, all I got to do is get sober and my life's going to get better, everybody gets sober.
Right.
You get sober the first time, it'd be one and done for everybody. And somehow we trick ourselves into believing there's just no use. It's not going to be different. It's not going to be better. I'm going to be damned. So why bother?
Yeah, I mean, our disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And those are three simple words that, they're not messing around. Like, this disease, it's not just like, oh, it'll make you uncomfortable. No, like, this disease will kill you. It will kill you. It doesn't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer, a priest. It doesn't matter. It doesn't discriminate. It'll kill you.
No, and it's even in my own journey through recovery, it's not been a one-stop shop, and I got it, and that was it. And I was like, oh, it's been trial and error for me in some instances where my emotional state's been tested, and I failed the test, and but the recovery side of it, it always works,
It does. And
the substances will stop working at some point.
I would caution against, and this is something I've had to learn in my own life, is this very binary thinking about sober, what is failure in recovery. And coming back to recovery, coming back to the program, renewing my faith practice or renewing my recovery practice, that's the real success. Something I had to learn from Keenan Wald, a therapist in Columbus. Love the guy. And he kind of introduced me to this idea of trying not to be quite so fatalistic in my determinations about when I've messed up or not. That if I can come back, that's success. As long as I don't die, I guess I've got another shot.
Right.
So
the trick is we just don't know.
We just don't know.
Especially with today's drugs. I mean, if I were still in active addiction and, eating meth and snorting meth and, smoking meth, and anything else I can get my hands on, there's not a question in my mind that I would be dead today with the prevalence of fentanyl. I mean, fentanyl's in everything. There's no chance that I would be alive today if I were still in active addiction. I believe that.
The risk is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greater.
I think about those, I don't know, this has been on the news, the three guys that died at the watching the Kansas City Chiefs game at his house.
I've seen some of that. What happened to them?
So they went over, I think it was on a Sunday, to watch a game. And three of them ended up passing away outside. Apparently, what it seemed to have been they froze to death is what it looked like. But toxicology has come back that may not have been the case. So more will be revealed on what happened to them. But we talk about things being laced with stuff these days, and I just don't know if that had something to do with it, because you don't know what you're getting.
No, even with weed.
Even with weed, and especially with the fentanyl, and we've had laws passed here in Mississippi, regarding fentanyl, kids doing drugs and things like that, and
Right.
marijuana being a gateway drug. So you don't ever know what it is, what's in it anymore. So, but that's an interesting case, Drew, because the guy that lived in the house, I think he rented the house. The main person who is alive today has checked into, to get treatment, to go into a treatment center. So, and that may have been part of his legal strategy. You would know more about that.
The toxicology reports suggest that there were several substances
Found. So you never know what you're getting.
You don't. You really don't.
Nothing is clean cut anymore.
No, and as Christina Dent, who was on a couple weeks ago, shared with us, it's fentanyl now, and then in a couple years it's going to be, I don't remember those other
I forget
drugs.
what that.
Something. The xylazine was one of them that she mentioned, and I've got a war story about it that we don't need to share today. But so I can remember the name of that one. But there were some other classes of drugs that she shared about that are out there, that are coming, that are equally as deleterious to our health as fentanyl, and it's just kind of cyclic.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's never a shortage of bad things out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, as much as we have, like DEA and agencies that crack down on drugs, it just seems they get smarter and smarter. Not the DEA, but like drug dealers and people who transport it and stuff. They just either get smarter, or I don't know if they get smarter or they get dumber. I don't know, but it just seems there's never a shortage of anything.
No, nor will there ever be.
Yeah. She likens it to, she describes the black markets of alcohol during Prohibition. Oh. And she said and I never thought of it like this, but whenever something is prohibited, then the strength of what is then smuggled by necessity becomes stronger. And she said, think of a football stadium that does not allow alcohol. And she said, what you're going to end up with is people that drink beer outside the stadium but smuggle liquor in to the stadium,
right?
Because I can have smaller amounts of it, and
it's more potent, and you get drunk.
Yeah.
And I thought that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about freakonomics. I mean, that's it right there.
Right.
So as things become prohibited, you're going to see an increase in more potent drugs that are then desirable, because the risk is reduced when you only need a little bit of it.
Absolutely.
Well, look, share with us some of the things that you've learned along the way.
Yeah.
In your recovery practice.
I came into recovery in 2008. That's when I understood and figured out that I needed some help, and that I could stop, but I couldn't stop starting,
Yes.
And
yeah, well said. Yes.
And I went to my folks, and I said, I think I need a little vacation. I think I need some help. And I really was serious about going somewhere to get some help. And I went to, I did go to a facility to get some help, get detox and do that, because I just couldn't stop it. And that worked. That's where I was introduced to the program of AA. And what I've learned is that it's a journey, and I've uncovered a lot of emotional stuff that I had not dealt with from, childhood or whatever. And I've learned how to tell the truth, and be honest about where I am and what I'm doing. And the journey is quite revealing. I've heard in the rooms and meetings about it's peeling an onion. The more you peel, the more stuff you uncover. That's just exactly the way it is. And what I enjoy most is the fellowship and meeting people in the program, and getting to watch people's journeys along the way.
Look, I think that's something really interesting that you pointed out, how it really is a journey.
Yep.
And one of the tools that I've learned is to extract joy from the journey as opposed to extracting joy from a destination. Because even if you close your eyes and try to think of the people that that are in your orbit that are doing the thing, they're living the program and they're having the fruits of the rewards of it. They seem to be at peace. They're happy. They don't seem to have bad days. They've been at it for a minute and they've kind of gotten all their ducks in a row. Well, they're also on a journey. They're on a journey to maintain doing those things that got them there. You know, we seem to forget that. We seem to fool ourselves into thinking that, oh man, if I just had his life, then I wouldn't have any more problems. And the truth is that guy doesn't have many problems in his life because he's consistent in doing those things that he needs to do. Like after he achieved peace and serenity and calm and doesn't create, after he achieved having no storms in his life, then he continued to do those things afterwards.
Right.
And that's how and so there's something about extracting joy and pride in knowing that we're on the healthy journey, not trying to extract joy and pride only from having no problems.
Yeah, absolutely. There's never going to be a point where I arrive in my sobriety.
Yes.
Ever.
Yes.
And I am completely okay with that. It is all about the journey. It's all about, and even the difficult struggles that come up in life. Okay. Are you going to, are you going to retreat into self-loathing and self-hatred and self-sabotage, or are you going to say, okay, this is a difficult situation. What do I need to learn and how can I grow from this? And that takes practice. That takes a tremendous amount of practice just
and
to
intentionality.
Do. Right, absolutely. It's not just something that happens. I mean, I've been working on that for a very, very long time, and I'm finally getting to a point where I can run to adversity with compassion and love for myself instead of shame, guilt, remorse, self-loathing, and self-hatred.
Jimmy T at Central Group would say, alcoholics or addicts will find something that works and they'll quit doing it.
Right. Yeah.
And that
sounds like something he'd
I've
say.
Seen it so many times. I've experienced that in my own life. I get to a place where, oh my God, everything's great, wonderful. And you want to say, I can just do that one more time, or certainly one's not going to hurt. That's a bad mentality to have, that powerlessness over that first drink or first whatever it is. And then quit going to the meetings, quit socializing with people and thinking that the program or whatever cannot help you.
Yes.
Because I can get there, that they won't understand this problem that I'm going through. No one's going to know what I'm talking about, or I'm going to have to deal with this entirely on my own. And then the fear comes up, self-loathing, what Daniel was talking about.
Terminal uniqueness.
Yeah.
Nobody has suffered like I'm suffering.
Yeah, I got rid of that thought process when I got sober this time. It doesn't serve me.
It's the apex of grandiosity.
It's ego, man.
Yeah.
It's so
the world has never seen problems like mine.
And
shut the up.
Really.
And God forbid I'm going to come back into a room of people who are the judgiest people in the world and go, I have gone back out, or I've relapsed, or something, and admit that to them so they can sit there and judge me. My ego is so hard fast on that.
Absolutely. There is nothing that has ever happened in this world to someone that they did not push through and stay sober. So there's literally nothing that could happen in my life that someone else hasn't gone through in sobriety and walked through with dignity and grace.
Yeah. And when someone does come in or something like that, when we hear those stories, the love that we have for them, there's just such
compassion.
It's compassion, and it's a little bit of relief that I'm glad it's not me today, but at any given time, that could be me.
Oh, I'm just one wrong decision
I
from
mean, one bad decision.
Yeah.
One fib away from something triggering all that stuff and starting that cycle. It's an awful, awful feeling.
It is an awful feeling because really and truly we are only like this may have been before we started recording, because you're going to have a bad day.
Absolutely.
And then you may even have a couple bad days. And the worst thing that can happen is that you bump into the wrong person at the wrong time. And, you're without that
mental
spiritual defense.
Yeah.
Spiritual defense.
And
right.
Boom.
Yep.
We all have clay feet, I think is how I heard it when I first came into it. We all have clay feet, and we try to stave off disaster by adherence to a practice that has worked for us.
Yeah.
And man,
I'm going to tell you a trigger that used to be, and it's come back to ego, is when someone else says, someone that you used to date or go out with, somebody be like, they're dating somebody else. I saw them with so-and-so and they're out having, great. That would be a trigger for me because my ego couldn't handle that scenario.
that's Kirby's Achilles heel.
Could be.
Yeah.
It's the, woe is me,
Yeah.
and
Well, and it speaks to this.
It happened yesterday.
Oh, it did.
Oh, it did. Somebody brought up that yesterday, and I shared it with somebody. I called somebody immediately after all that happened, and I was like, this in the past would have triggered something, and today I can tell you it doesn't. I don't know if that's me changing or what it is, but I'm actually happy for them if that's what they're going through. Lord, thank God, let them be happy. Let everybody be happy and everything.
Well, I think that's the miracle of the program.
Yeah.
Is that we can behave and we can have a reaction that is not good. We can be whatever.
Yep.
And then we can have that pointed out to us. And then we can learn in the future when it happens again, because those feelings are going to come back.
Oh, yeah.
Something's going to trigger it. And we can have a healthy response to it. And I think as much as I've been harping on lately about tracking our positives and reminding ourselves of the good things that we've done, that'd be something I'd be proud of.
Yeah, the emotional maturity that we
Yes.
talk about in meetings and stuff, that we kind of stop growing emotionally when we get involved with alcohol or whatever, or drugs or whatever it is. We just stop growing. And so learning how to deal with those emotions and those feelings, maybe something I never dealt with. I never matured when it came to that aspect of things. And the ego is just crazy anyway. So being able to grow through the journey of Alcoholics Anonymous and the whole recovery process. That's what it's about.
And then you do what you're doing today. You have found something profitable in your past poor decisions.
Yep.
And here you are taking a risk, being on our podcast that goes out to the English-speaking world.
Yeah.
And
We got
Waka
9,700 people watching right now.
well,
See,
it
that's
is.
awesome.
And so, that is the mandate we all have.
Yep.
We found a way out. We had a program given to us that'll help us get into recovery. And then we try to help the next man. There could be somebody out there who is reeling with ego problems, whose ex is moved on, and now they're
feeling that.
Yeah.
Sitting at home just stewing in it. And I know that feeling. It's absolutely reasonable to feel that way.
Sure.
That you can get past it, though. It is possible. But, part of this responsibility of being in this program is to pass on what has been so freely given to me.
freely given.
Freely. And every day it's freely given to me. It is accessible. And you guys are doing, I guess, the Lord's work by passing this on through this environment. And, this is technology. This is where things are moving and where things have evolved into. If you think back into the 1930s when the program first came around, they had a book, that was mailed to people, and they had to read stories in the back, and they didn't know when they were going to see another alcoholic or somebody in recovery. They had no idea.
It would have to be tougher back then.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
we should be grateful that we didn't have to get sober in the
Absolutely.
Or go to a
Late
phone booth, to call and find out, can I help somebody? Man, we have got we have got stuff at our fingertips
at your ready fingertip
every day to help somebody or be of service. And that's another aspect of all of this program, is being of service, that I have found in my own recovery that helps me the most, is just being of service to either a home group or a group, and other members of the community. So.
Absolutely.
Well, I can tell you how you have helped me. You can always count on Kirby to welcome you with a warm smile. I'm serious. You always have a...
We've known each other, I don't know, since, at least 10 years.
Yeah, for a minute.
At least 10 years.
I've never seen you being asked to somebody, and you're always pleasant. And that, people count on that. I think that people forget just how beneficial consistency is, not just in your own life, but for those around you. And so I thank you for that.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure knowing you. And even if we don't see each other for long periods of time, there's always that, when we see each other, it's like,
yeah, I'm happy to see you. I feel like you're happy to see me too.
And it's genuine. It's not a fake, process. So,
and that's part of the sense of community that a 12-step program, or whatever it is that you want, 12 steps, Celebrate Recovery, we're here for all of it.
Oh yeah,
that sense of community that you can get in church or at your Wiccan circle or whatever it is that's your thing. The sense of community is important. It's a very important component to your recovery.
I mean, after all, the opposite of addiction is connection. We all need some way, some place to be able to connect with other people. And if Alcoholics Anonymous is that for you, great. If Narcotics Anonymous is that for you, or CA, whatever, Celebrate Recovery, whatever, Smart Recovery, whatever, it doesn't matter. Any path to recovery is a path that Recovery Lab supports.
Right.
So it's good, man. It's good.
It's good to reach out to people and let them know that there is an option for you, other than waking up or coming to or having to do the same thing every day. That's not working for you anymore. And
and there is hope. There is hope.
Yeah.
There is a way out. And I don't think that that single message gets, because at its core, I feel like that is the one thing that keeps people from getting sober, is they don't feel that hope. And they're resigned to a life that, where drug and alcohol use is the optimal choice. And there is a better way.
Yeah.
And being there and being part of the community and having people that hold you accountable and that are there to inspire you and are there to lift you up during the tough times. I mean, I think that's the most important component to going to meetings and to being an integral part of the community. Of the community, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Daniel, what was the last thing for you? What was the final? You just had enough and said, I need to do that again. And
I'm super effective at hitting walls.
Okay.
And getting to a point where I just don't have any other choices. I did the whole, get sober for the marriage, get sober for the kid. I tried all of that, and again would hit my head against the wall time and time again. And ultimately it was me arriving at I had a rental house that I was renting right down the house from my son and ex-wife. And there was like a little backyard area. And at this point I had been in and out of the rooms for 17 years, 18 years. Yeah. A few times I've had some, 2 years sober and relapse, maybe 2.5 years sober, relapse. But I was still holding on to some sexual stuff from my past that I really wasn't willing to take a look at all. And that kept me sick. So where I wound up was sitting behind this rental house, completely alone, a house, completely empty and void of any connection or love whatsoever. And that's all due to my own poor life choices. And the options for me were very clear, very clear. It was take a gun and end it, or be willing to take suggestions and be willing to let God work in my life and me stop trying to do things my way. My way got me where I was sitting right there that night. And so I was too much of a chicken to off myself. And so I called my sponsor that I had and I said, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready. And another thing that happened for me that was monumental in this moment, in this time frame in my life was I hopped back into my therapy. My therapist, Zach, I reached out to him and was like, bro, I really need to talk to you. And I went into his office and I was just bawling, just snot coming out of my nose. I was so tense and so wound up, and I had a gun in my car, and I had made a decision that if I don't hear something, that I'm going to drive to the reservoir where I proposed to my wife, and I'm going to shoot myself. That was my plan. And I walked in and I laid it all on the line for Zach, and I was like, again, just bawling and crying like a little schoolgirl, and he looked at me with the most calm demeanor and no expression on his face, and all he said was, I can help you with that. I can help you with that. And it was like a million pounds were lifted off my chest, and I was able to exhale for just a second for the first time in a long time. And the rest was history. I started working the steps again, but the most important aspect of that was I was finally willing to address every issue that was in my life, including the sexual misconducts that I had had in my past. And that was the key to my sobriety and my success in recovery was I was willing to take a look and process every aspect of my life. And I feel like God kind of recognized that willingness as well and kind of took me by the hand and said, okay, I think you're ready. Let's get this going. And the rest is history. But it took me hitting the wall and becoming willing to address every aspect of my life in my past, process it, being willing to process that. And it was at that moment that I was willing or that I was able to achieve some sort of, I'd had sobriety before, but it's not always rainbows and sunshine, but it's a hell of a lot better than it was that night when I was sitting behind my house, and actually it wasn't my house. My dad was paying for it. I owned nothing, and that's where my addiction took me, and God and other people, the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, I crawled back in. They gave me a big hug. They said, "We love you. Keep coming back. We're glad you're here." And nobody else in the world was ever going to say, "We love you and keep coming back," other than those people. Even I tried church, and you start talking about, I really, I ate some meth, and I really, I want to do it some more. Yep. I got weird looks when I said that in small groups. So for me, Alcoholics Anonymous was the solution. That's where I gained my beginning, and that's where I took my first breath. Honestly, was in the rooms. Now, that's not to say I wasn't ready when I tried faith-based. I didn't try any other programs, and because I wasn't ready when I tried faith-based programs, that's why they didn't work, because I wasn't ready to quit digging. I was ready to quit digging when Alcoholics Anonymous was in the forefront of my mind. And so that's the path that I took. But that's not to say that I don't support faith-based, Celebrate Recovery, any other avenue to recovery. like I said before, any program, anything that brings you to long-term sobriety, man,
It's worth it.
we here at the Recovery Lab, we're all about that. We're always going to love you. So,
Look, let me share with you a story that has been so impactful. Like, I saw this happen in real life. So, dear listener, as you can see, like behind Daniel, there is, it says Recovery Lab. And then if somebody is sitting in that chair, there's a green screen back there. So, and there's one behind Daniel. So I saw this happen a couple weeks ago, and it's made such an impact on me that I've shared it not only with my wife, and we'll share it again on today's episode. So Daniel was in here. Put yourself in this position. You spend money and an entire day trying to fix something that does not ultimately work. I thought it was fine, but he was having a come apart about it. Fixing these green screens, installing
blue screens.
They installed the blue screens that are supposed to be superior, only to have that endeavor be a failure. And so I was here the next day getting ready for an episode, and he's caterwauling about the blue screens, and then so he stands up and he's complaining about it, and he seizes that negative self-talk, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but he rattled off a couple lessons he could learn from having done the blue screen thing. And I thought, there it is. There is the miracle of being intentional about finding something profitable out of our, I won't even call it a mistake, but just out of our, it wasn't a mistake to use the blue screens.
They looked good, though. They looked good, but they didn't work.
It didn't work well. So, I was reminded, and I had a beautiful, had beautiful evidence right in front of me of how I can choose to think only about the bad, or I can choose to find something good about it and use it to my benefit going forward. And we are every day faced with choices, and we can either choose to be miserable and complain, or we can choose to learn from it and can move forward accordingly. And so in just a couple short years, I mean, there he goes from, wanting to commit suicide
Yep.
to forcing himself to think of something beneficial from having lost a day of labor. And I shouldn't even say lost a day of labor, because he gained,
it was still profitable.
He gained
to me.
experience in the installation of green screens and blue screens and all that. So I applaud you for that.
Oh, thanks, man.
I wanted to brag on you in front of people.
You
Thanks.
did good. It does look good.
Thanks, man.
I have no.
There's a lot of work in here.
Pivot the camera to you so everybody can see. There it is. Recovery Lab,
Yeah,
going hard.
That looks better up there.
And you got to forgive so the reason that the Recovery Lab is not larger today is because when I clip it out, it clips, so it's just lab on the clips. So we're trying something a little bit different. So when I clip this out this afternoon,
So if you're watching
you'll be
this
able
on
to see
some
that.
reel on YouTube, this was for your benefit.
That's right.
You are better because of Daniel's labor.
Oh
The
goodness.
full source today.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Daniel talked about the and I'm going to tiptoe around it. The whole sexual.
Yeah, my mama watches this. So.
Yeah.
Hey, Margaret.
Yeah. We'll it won't be like that. But that part of recovery, it's in the book. We talk about it in the book and stuff, and it's a big part of a lot of people's recovery is doing that inventory, of where I've done wrong.
Yes.
Where have I not been faithful, truthful? Where have I created fear in people? And that is certainly true in my own backstory, and been willing to make amends for some of those things, So that's part of the journey.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that the next few people that get sober around here are also going to have sexual misconduct in their past. It ain't gonna stop
They're leaving the hotel. It's
right now.
As
Yeah.
we speak, they're
It's-
checking out.
It's checkout time. I mean, that was another reason I thought about it. I was like, you know what?
You're exactly right.
It's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock is usually checkout. You might be able to get at 2 o'clock
Trying to get that late checkout.
late
Yeah,
checkout.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
where am I
A lot
gonna
of-
go?
A lot of times it's not going to go well for you if you do that. So.
Oh man. I remember being stuck in this one motel, and the manager came by, and I was like, "Can I get a late checkout?" And she's looking around, and she sees the syringes, and I'm like, "I've got diabetes." I don't think she believed it. There are bunches of needles around here.
Somebody told
Back
me
there eating a
Bad case of
bag of
diabetes.
sugar. I mean,
someone told me you can go through the pharmacy drive-through and just ask for syringes. They'll give them to you. I was like, oh, great. Go through, and I was like, hi, I just need some of those syringes, for like diabetes or whatever. And he was like, really? I said, yeah. He said, what kind of insulin do you use? Boy, I was like, let me check.
Brown?
I'll be
the liquid kind.
I'll get back with you on that one. I'm not real sure. Boy.
Look, I had a
length.
diabetic cat in real life.
What?
For real, I had a diabetic cat
Thing down.
and Trigger, and Trigger was insulin dependent. This is a true story.
Your cat was named
Look,
Trigger.
Trigger
Got it.
was I was able to stay stocked up on clean syringes because of Trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a true story.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because Trigger, look, they're Trigger Hassin at the Walgreens.
Even when Trigger passed.
The links that
Trigger
we'll go
been
to.
dead. Trigger had long since
Trigger's-
departed.
Trigger. Oh, but no, yeah.
Maybe not make a reel out of that part.
Well, I don't know.
It's just one of the many stories that we can
Look.
tell of some crazy ass shit stuff that just goes on and
the creativity, if we
Oh, we're a creative
the
bunch.
work
Oh
and
my
effort
gosh.
it takes to use drugs like we did.
Oh, yeah.
If I'd only done that to something good,
Yeah.
But look, here's the thing: I might not have learned that lesson,
Right.
and I might not be able to share today with somebody who's doing equally creative things to
Right.
persist in their misery, and I can relate to them.
right.
Absolutely. I would have never done anything like this in active addiction. I just like this is a lot of work. It's a lot of freaking time up here. It's a lot of work. There's no way that I would have had the patience or
Right.
anything to do that had I not gone through every little brick wall that I went through as a result of my own poor life decisions. I can't blame that on anyone else other
Right.
than myself. But had I not gone through all of those experiences, the negative, difficult experiences, I wouldn't have ever gotten to a place where I could invest time in something that's worthwhile and helpful to not only myself but many other people as well. I would have never gotten there had I not hit my head.
And what a beautiful point you make about as a result of your own poor decisions.
Oh yeah.
When I was able to look myself in the face and say, you landed here because of your decisions,
No one else's.
no one else's, guaranteed you only are in this predicament because of your decisions and your life choices.
Right.
And there's power there because if I can choose, if my choices can get me here, perhaps my choices can get me out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it takes a choice in order to, but again, we can't do this on our own.
No.
Excuse me. I can't do this on my own. I have to have a myriad of individuals and I have in the past that reached out and have helped me. So, yes, our decisions got us where we were. Yes, our decisions can put us on the right path. But ultimately, if you're anything like me, if you're the drug addict and alcoholic that I am, then you're going to need help. And I can't do this on my own.
Right.
And that's where the program really comes in and fellowship and all programs and walks really, really plays a significant role in long-term sobriety and the ability to achieve that.
I especially young kids. I don't know how many people are listening or young kids in their early 20s, whatever it is. You know, if you have come into recovery in some aspect of your life, whatever, you know, get it while you're young. You know, that's so many people, myself included, wait until they're later on in life to admit that, man, I got a problem. I need to do something. And, you know, if you're young and haven't maybe had to suffer so many consequences, financial consequences, I myself, financial consequences, you know, relationship consequences, just stuff like that. If you haven't had to experience that yet, you've got so many more years to build up everything that you think you probably need or want in life and do it in recovery.
Well, it's like saving in compound interest. You know, if you start young, you'll have more.
What's that? Yeah. What was that? Yeah. And you know, you mentioned your mom, and my parents taught me how to do those things growing up, and it was not they taught me what to do, right from wrong, yet my decisions, my selfish, self-centeredness little ways are what got me.
I'm familiar
in those things, because
I'm familiar with the practice.
No.
Sure.
Really?
Departure from what dear old dad would have had me do.
Gosh, if I could go back, you know, my dad would tell me, he'd say, you know, just listen to what I'm telling you. I'm always right. And of course, when someone tells you that, they're like, no.
Yeah. You know, the only thing I would add to that is, if you're young and, you know, I first got sober when I was real young. I was still a teenager. And I had not yet developed full-on physical addiction to anything. So if you're young and you're kind of, you've got those tendencies, my hope for you is that if you don't really buy into the recovery program when you're real young, like truly buy into it, then I hope that you run off real fast and get physically addicted to something. Don't die or hurt anybody else, but suffer the consequences of actual physical addiction
expediently,
because it will motivate you.
Absolutely.
There is something that we all wish to avoid about being dope sick, or you know, coming off opiates, you know, makes you physically feel awful, but coming off of like meth makes you feel mentally awful.
Mm-hmm.
Like it does something to your brain that is not desirable.
Yeah, no, it's not fun.
So, go on out there. If you're not going to buy into what we're selling, then hurry up and get on some.
Sometimes you have to get out of people's ways so they can.
Yeah, let them screw up, scrape their knees a little bit.
Reach that bottom.
And just hope they don't die. Hope you don't die in the meantime.
Right.
Or hurt someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I certainly have been on, you know, a path before, and I am blessed not to have done some.
Aren't we all?
But, you know, that option is always out there.
I mean, literally every one of my friends, it's a miracle they didn't kill somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Because we all drove when we shouldn't have.
Oh.
And we all did dumb shit.
Yeah. It's yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, using the drugs in the first place, I mean, it's a miracle we didn't kill ourselves, but yeah. Like everybody in my orbit should be grateful that they're not in prison for having killed somebody driving to the store to get their pack of Times and their Polar Pop.
The other thing Daniel was talking about was the isolation, the loneliness, like sitting outside just by yourself. That whole feeling of isolation, you know, that's where it would lead me. By myself, I don't want anybody around. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anybody. You know, that whole feeling of I don't want to be alone, but leave me alone.
Yeah.
That is an awful mindset.
That prison you built.
I hate you. Don't leave me.
I hate figuring that out. Why do I not want to be by myself, but I don't get away from me?
And then nobody wants to be around you.
No, because you're.
And then I resented them for not wanting to be around me.
And
I mean, we're not exactly wholesome.
I can't imagine why I haven't showered in I don't know, a week. So I can't imagine why you.
And then the only people that are around us are as sick as we are,
Yeah.
and nothing good is going to come of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're about 5 minutes away from the completion of the episode. You want to hop on our questions?
Yes, here we go. Are you ready?
Sure.
Hard hitting.
Okay.
What do you do poorly in your recovery?
Consistency with meetings, consistency with reading the book, consistency with calling my sponsor is probably 3 of the top things.
Okay. All right. Flip side.
Yep.
What do you do well in your recovery?
Yeah, I read meditation. I make sure I start my day with some kind of spiritual connection with God, whether it's reading something in the mornings, quietly meditating in the mornings, asking God to guide me and what would he have me do that day. Thy will, not mine, be done is the best prayer for me in the morning times, and the third step prayer, obviously. But God, what would you have me do?
Perfect.
And I put myself out there, you know.
All right, look, when you come back in a year and we ask you what you've done poorly and what you've done well, we hope that you draw on your answers from today and you say, like, you know what, I admitted that I do this poorly and I'll do it better tomorrow.
Absolutely.
I'll have a better report then for you.
There we go. You'll have new things that you do poorly.
I will.
I love it. I love it.
And you guys are blessing to everybody for doing this.
You're
So
sweet.
Thank you
You're kind.
for putting this together, and it's great to be a
Look,
part
we
of
appreciate
something.
everybody that takes time out of their day
Oh my God.
to come do
Absolutely.
this. Really, I mean, otherwise people would just be left with listening to us all day.
No,
Right.
That's good. Thank
That's
you guys.
a
for this.
drag.
And to everyone listening,
Hang in there.
hang in there. Do not give up.
Absolutely.
Reach out. You know, you're worth it. That's
You are
the
worth
thing.
it.
And if no one's told you today that they love you, the 3 guys sitting in this room, we love you and we want you to be well.
We do.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Episode 70 in the books.
Episode
go.
70 in the books.
Proud to be a part.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks.
We'll see you guys
All
next
right.
week.